I'd like to welcome back our two panelists, both Corey and Jacob, to the stage as well. As I said, we are going to have a couple other people join in this dialogue. So, Corey, Jacob. Now I say that Peter F. Hurst joins us for this discussion as the founder, chairman, CEO, and acting CFO. Peter is busy. Of the Communities Bank in Bridgeport, the only minority-owned and managed bank in Connecticut. Mr. Hurst has worked as an attorney for the Federal Reserve Bank and has received national and local awards for his business leadership and philanthropy. Mr. Hurst. Please also welcome to the stage Dr. Elsa M. Nunez. Dr. Nunez is in her 5th year as the first Latina president of Eastern Connecticut State University. Dr. Nunez is the author of Pursuing Diversity, as well as many other articles on language acquisition, diversity, academic attainment, and cultural differences in education and retention. Would you please join me in welcoming Dr. Nunez to the stage? And last but certainly not least, we are pleased to have with us this evening the Honorable Pedro Segarra. Mayor Segarra first served Hartford as Corporation Counsel and then went on to become City Council President. Mayor Segarra is now working with city leaders and residents to develop new ideas on how to improve Hartford, from creating jobs, reducing crime, and improving education to promoting economic development with a focus on small business. Would everyone join me in welcoming the Mayor of Hartford to the stage, Mayor Segarra.
Oh,
Good to see you stepping
no love.
So, as I promised, and I am a Neptunian of my word, I want to allow Mayor Booker to give us some of his insights on these recent elections and what it means, more specifically, what it means for our country. What are the American citizens telling us with this vote of last week?
Well, again, all I can speak for is in most certainty is the folks in my city. I think we hopefully got a very clear lesson. And when I went to go vote for Obama, Mayor, I'm sure you experienced this, there were lines outside the polling places. I walk up to my polling site, and the first thing my beloved citizenry says to me is, "Don't think you're cutting in line, Mayor. You better stand in line with everybody else." And I'm like, yes, okay. And I waited in this long line, got to the front of the line, and people were arguing. "I'm sorry, your name's not in the book." "My name's in the book. I'm voting for Obama, or I'm shutting this place down." And it was just kind of like this energy, this excitement. Then the next election in Newark, it was a ghost town. You know, there was hardly anybody voting. There was no line. And so I think what Jacob said was very clear, is that the electorate changed, and it changed in who made up the majority of it. It changed in what their political emphasis was, and that's the challenge for me. Is what I see. The lesson is if you want to create change, it's not seen in one election. It's seen in sustained political activism, and that's something that we who want a different America or a different politics have to understand, that just putting one man in office down in Washington doesn't create American change. You really have to be invested in the long haul fight.
Connecticut, on the other hand, had a very different story than most parts of the country. And I'm wondering, and I'll just ask Mayor Segarra real quick, whether or not you think that there is a reason, whether Connecticut is different, whether the citizens of Connecticut, the state, are somehow experiencing the American dream differently, whether they're experiencing the nation and the time differently. Why do you think that it was such a different result than most of the country?
Well, initially it took a while. Initially people were trying to decipher the messages, and of course with the influx of many, many millions of dollars that were spent in the media and the press, it took out quite a while to sort out the messages. And then we got a little bit of help from former President Clinton and our mayor and our President Obama, who came to the state and started to sort out some things for people, and I think the campaigns did a lot better. So I think the message got across. We're a smaller state. I think each of the Congress people also that were running did a better job in getting out their platforms. So towards the end, people started to realize that it was important. We did have a new governor, Democrat, first in 24 years, which would hopefully offer the cities some sensitivity, being a former mayor that he was of Stanford. In terms of the American dream, I think we're improving. We're improving a little bit in terms of communities, especially urban communities, whose turnout, as was evident by the running out of ballots in Bridgeport, who were turning out in bigger numbers. But there's still a lot of political transformation that needs to happen, cultural transformation that needs to happen, especially in the urban communities. We inherited and were trained under an old political system that we inherited, and there still needs to be a lot of cultural change so that people realize that the participation in that process is not really about promoting self-interest, but really that there needs to be a broader community interest at hand if you're going to participate. So we need some work there. And then in Hartford, for example, it's just that the perception of what the American dream means so many different things to so many different people. When we came from Puerto Rico, I remember it was supposed to be a temporary state. We were supposed to earn enough money to build a home and go back to Puerto Rico. And many of us became locked in with no escape because there weren't the dollars that we thought were going to be there to build that dream house and go back. So many of us remained. We need to define. For me now, it's just trying to be a little bit more focused on our city. And it was interesting because Mayor Booker and our cities share many, many similarities, yet in some respects very different. Our tax revenue is very limited. The state dictates to us how we can raise our taxes, and 60% of our revenue, our budget, is local, and yet comes from mostly real estate conveyance tax. We don't have a Port Authority tax that generates, in your case, about $35 million. We don't have, your pilot is much bigger, $115 million, yet our budgets are about the same. We get to the tune of about $17 million. You have $1.7 million in municipal fines and costs that you take in. Our system of courts is centralized with a superior court that is in the hands of the state. And we also have 50% of our property, which is tax exempt. But we still have the same problems and trying to work very hard to pretty much lift people, because one of the things that I've learned about being mayor in a very short time, that it's really about rallying behind people and helping them to find their place, not only in their communities, but in the city, in the state, and their place in America. So I'm very thankful for this panel about the American dream, because it sort of gives focus to where it is that we ought to be at this time. So thank you for the panel.
Thank you. Thank you.